Hey there, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into the motivational life story of Gautama Buddha. The story of Gautama Buddha follows Prince Siddhartha's journey from a life of luxury to enlightenment. Long ago, in a kingdom called Kapilavastu, there lived a prince named Siddhartha Gautama. He was born around 563 BCE, into a royal family. His father, King Suddhodana, was the ruler of a small kingdom in what is now modern-day Nepal. Siddhartha's mother, Queen Maya, had a dream before he was born. In her dream, a beautiful white elephant descended from the sky and entered her body. This was a sign that her child would be special. When Siddhartha was born, a wise man predicted that he would either become a great king or a spiritual leader. His father, wanting him to be a king, decided to protect Siddhartha from any suffering or sorrow in the world. The king made sure Siddhartha lived a life full of luxury and comfort, surrounded by beauty and joy. Siddhartha's early life as a young boy, Siddhartha was taught in all the arts and skills needed to become a ruler. He was a bright student, strong, and talented in many ways. The king provided him with the finest teachers, and his life in the palace was filled with entertainment, food, and pleasure. At the age of 16, Siddhartha married a beautiful princess named Yasodhara, and they had a son named Rahula. Life seemed perfect for the young prince. He had everything that anyone could wish for: wealth, family, and power. Yet, deep inside, Siddhartha felt something was missing. He often wondered about life beyond the palace walls and was curious about what lay outside. The foresights one day, when Siddhartha was around 29 years old, he persuaded his charioteer, Channa, to take him outside the palace. His father had always tried to shield him from the realities of life, but on this trip, Siddhartha saw things that would change his life forever. These are known as the four sights. The first sight: an old man. Siddhartha saw a man, bent over and struggling to walk, with wrinkles on his face and gray hair. He had never seen old age before. The prince was shocked and asked Channa what had happened to the man. Channa explained that everyone grows old eventually. The second sight: a sick man. As they traveled further, Siddhartha saw a man lying by the side of the road, coughing and in pain. He asked what was wrong with the man, and Channa explained that illness can strike anyone at any time. The third sight: a dead body. Siddhartha then saw a funeral procession with people mourning over a lifeless body. This was his first encounter with death. Channa told him that death is something that happens to all living beings. The fourth sight: a monk. Finally, Siddhartha saw a peaceful monk walking along the road, wearing simple robes and carrying a begging bowl. The monk's calm demeanor intrigued Siddhartha. Channa explained that the man had renounced worldly pleasures to seek spiritual enlightenment. These sights deeply troubled Siddhartha. For the first time, he realized that life was full of suffering. Old age, sickness, and death were inevitable for everyone. The peace of the monk, however, gave him hope that there might be a way to overcome this suffering. The great renunciation. That night, Siddhartha could not sleep. He realized that no amount of wealth, power, or pleasure could protect him or his loved ones from suffering. He decided to leave his royal life behind and seek the truth about life and suffering. Siddhartha believed that there must be a way to end suffering, and he was determined to find it. Quietly, in the middle of the night, Siddhartha said goodbye to his wife and son. He left the palace with Channa and his horse, Kanthaka. When they reached the edge of the forest, Siddhartha took off his royal clothes, cut his hair, and exchanged his rich garments for simple robes. He sent Channa and Kanthaka back to the palace, and from that moment on, Siddhartha was no longer a prince. He became a wandering monk, seeking wisdom. The search for enlightenment. Siddhartha spent the next 6 years in search of enlightenment. He met many teachers along the way who taught him about meditation, self-discipline, and philosophy. He followed these teachings with great dedication, but he soon realized that none of them led to the ultimate truth he was seeking. During this time, Siddhartha practiced extreme forms of self-denial and asceticism, believing that denying the body would free the mind. He ate very little, sometimes surviving on just a few grains of rice each day. His body became weak and thin, but still, he did not find the answer to ending suffering. One day, Siddhartha collapsed from exhaustion by the side of a river. A young woman named Sujata saw him and offered him a bowl of rice milk. At first, Siddhartha was hesitant, thinking that accepting the food would break his vow of self-denial. But then he realized that starving himself was not helping him find the truth. He accepted the food and regained his strength. Siddhartha understood that extreme self-indulgence in the palace and extreme self-denial as an ascetic were both unhelpful. He realized that the true path lay somewhere in the middle. This is known as the middle way. Enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. With this new understanding, Siddhartha made his way to a place called Bodh Gaya. There, he sat under a large fig tree, which would later be known as the Bodhi tree, and vowed not to rise until he had found the answer to the problem of suffering. For days, Siddhartha sat in deep meditation. He faced many temptations and distractions from Mara, the god of desire, who tried to prevent him from reaching enlightenment. Mara sent storms, beautiful women, and frightening visions, but Siddhartha remained calm and focused. Finally, after meditating for 49 days, Siddhartha achieved enlightenment. He realized the Four Noble Truths, which explained the nature of suffering and how to overcome it. From that moment, Siddhartha became known as the Buddha, which means, the Awakened One. The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The Buddha's enlightenment led him to the discovery of the Four Noble Truths. 1. The truth of suffering. Dukkha. Life is filled with suffering. People experience physical and emotional pain, as well as dissatisfaction with life's ups and downs. 2. The truth of the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is desire, attachment, and craving. We suffer because we are attached to things that are temporary, such as possessions, relationships, and even life itself. 3. The truth of the end of suffering. It is possible to end suffering by letting go of desire and attachment. When we free ourselves from craving, we can find peace and happiness. 4. The truth of the path to end suffering. The way to end suffering is to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. This path includes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. By following the Eightfold Path, people can live a life of wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. This leads to nirvana, a state of perfect peace and freedom from suffering. Spreading the teachings. After attaining enlightenment, the Buddha was filled with compassion for all living beings. He wanted to share his knowledge so that others could also be free from suffering. He traveled to a place called Deer Park in Sarnath, where he gave his first sermon to a group of 5 monks who had been his companions during his years of asceticism. In this sermon, known as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, setting the wheel of Dharma in motion, the Buddha explained the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The 5 monks became his first followers, and together, they formed the first community of Buddhist monks, known as the Sangha. For the next 45 years, the Buddha traveled across India, teaching people from all walks of life. Kings, merchants, farmers, and even outcasts came to listen to his teachings. The Buddha treated everyone equally, regardless of their status or background. One of the Buddha's most famous teachings is the concept of impermanence, anicca. He taught that everything in life is constantly changing, and nothing lasts forever. By understanding this, people can learn to let go of their attachments and find inner peace. The Buddha's final days. The Buddha continued to teach until he was 80 years old. In his final years, he became ill, but he remained calm and peaceful. He knew that his time on earth was coming to an end, but he was not afraid of death. Before passing away, the Buddha gathered his followers and gave them one final teaching. He reminded them that everything in life is impermanent and that they should not cling to anything, including his own teachings. He encouraged them to continue practicing the Noble Eightfold Path and to find the truth within themselves. The Buddha passed away peacefully in a small town called Kushinagar, lying between 2 trees, with his followers around him. His last words were, "All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence." The story of Gautama Buddha is one of transformation, wisdom, and compassion. From a sheltered prince living in luxury, he became a spiritual leader who found a way to overcome suffering. His teachings have inspired millions of people around the world to seek peace, mindfulness, and kindness in their own lives. The Buddha's message is simple yet profound. Suffering is a part of life, but by understanding its causes and following the path of wisdom, ethics, and meditation, we can find true happiness and inner peace. His life shows us that the key to happiness does not lie in wealth or power, but in our own minds and hearts. If you found this video enlightening, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, take care.